Man understands a little of the work of today and the work of the future, but he does not understand the destination into which mankind will enter. As a creature, man should perform the duty of a creature. Man should follow God in whatever he does, and you should proceed in whatever way I tell you to. You have no way of making arrangements for yourself, and you are incapable of controlling yourself. All must be left to the mercy of God, and everything is controlled by His hands. If the work of God provided man with an end, a wonderful destination, ahead of time, and if God used this to entice man and cause man to follow Him, if He did a deal with man, then this would not be conquest, nor would it be to work the life of man. Were God to use the end to control man and gain his heart, then in this He would not be perfecting man, nor would He be able to gain man, but instead would be using the destination to control him. Man cares about nothing more than the future end, the final destination, and whether or not there is something good to hope for. If man were given a beautiful hope during the work of conquest, and if, prior to the conquest of man, he were given a proper destination to pursue, then not only would the conquest of man not achieve its effect, but the effect of the work of conquest would also be influenced. That is to say, the work of conquest achieves its effect by taking away the fate and prospects of man and judging and chastising the rebellious disposition of man. It is not achieved by doing a deal with man, that is, by giving man blessings and grace, but by revealing man's loyalty through stripping him of his freedom and eradicating his prospects. This is the substance of the work of conquest. If man were given a beautiful hope at the very beginning, and the work of chastisement and judgment were done after, then man would accept this chastisement and judgment on the basis that he had prospects, and in the end, the unconditional obedience and worship of the Creator by all His creatures would not be achieved. There would only be blind, ignorant obedience, or else man would make blind demands of God, and so it would be impossible to fully conquer man's heart. Consequently, such work of conquest would be incapable of gaining man, nor, moreover, of bearing testimony to God. Such creatures would be unable to perform their duty, and would only strike bargains with God. This would not be conquest, but mercy and blessing. The biggest problem with man is that he thinks of nothing but his fate and prospects, that he idolizes them. Man pursues God for the sake of his fate and prospects. He does not worship God because of his love for Him. And so, in the conquest of man, man's selfishness, greed, and the things that most obstruct his worship of God must all be eliminated. In doing so, the effects of man's conquest will be achieved. As a result, in the earliest conquest of man, it is necessary to first purge the wild ambitions and most grievous weaknesses of man, and through this, to reveal man's love of God and change his knowledge of human life, his view of God, and the meaning of his existence. In this way, man's love of God is cleansed, which is to say, man's heart is conquered. But in his attitude toward all creatures, God does not conquer only for the sake of conquering. Instead, he conquers in order to gain man, for the sake of his own glory, and in order to recover the earliest, original likeness of man. Were he to conquer only for the sake of conquering, then the significance of the work of conquest would be lost. That is to say that if, after conquering man, God washed his hands of man and paid no heed to his life or death, then this would not be the management of mankind, nor would man's conquest be for the sake of his salvation. Only the gaining of man following his conquest and his ultimate arrival at a wonderful destination is at the heart of all the work of salvation. And only this can achieve the aim of man's salvation. In other words, only man's arrival at the beautiful destination and his entry into rest is the prospects that should be possessed by all creatures, and the work that should be done by the Creator. If man were to do this work, then it would be too limited. It could take man to a certain point, but it would not be able to bring man to the eternal destination. Man is not able to decide man's destiny, nor, moreover, is he able to ensure man's prospects and future destination. The work done by God, however, is different. Since he created man, he leads him. Since he saves man, he will thoroughly save him, and will completely gain him. Since he leads man, he will bring him to the proper destination. And since he created and manages man, he must take responsibility for man's fate and prospects. It is this which is the work done by the Creator. Though the work of conquest is achieved by purging man of his prospects, man must ultimately be brought into the proper destination prepared for him by God. It is precisely because God works man that man has a destination and his fate is assured. Here, the suitable destination referred to is not man's hopes and prospects purged in times past. The two are different. That which man hopes for and pursues are the yearnings of his pursuit of the extravagant desires of the flesh, rather than the destination due to man. What God has prepared for man, meanwhile, are the blessings and promises due to man once he has been made pure, which God prepared for man after creating the world, and which are not tainted by the choice, conceptions, imagination, or flesh of man. This destination is not prepared for a particular person, but is the place of rest of the whole of mankind. And so, this destination is the most suitable destination for mankind.
Man's biggest problem is that they think of nothing but their own fate, idolizing their prospects, pursuing God because of them. They don't worship God because of how they love Him, and so selfishness and greed, all things that obstruct their worship must go. Then the effect of man's conquest will be achieved. The work of conquest achieves its effect by taking away the fate and prospects of man, judging and chastising man's rebellious disposition, not making deals, giving man grace and blessings, but taking their freedoms and prospects away to reveal their loyalties. That's the work of conquest. In the first conquest of